your connective tissues, your fascia that moves all throughout your body, to begin to soften and relax if you aren't having to use your muscles. That helps your body get that signal. So we'll start just sitting with an upright seat. So take a nice inhale, feel lengthening through your spine, your ribs lifting up out of your hips. Just take a moment to notice. Soften through your forehead and your eyes. Maybe open and close your jaw. Then just check in with your shoulders. We'll do a few shoulder rolls here actually. Just get the shoulders moving, loosening them up a little bit. So just do a few rolls forward and back. And then you may stay sitting here, sitting upright. If you like, you can fold forward. Oftentimes when folding forward, again, I like the bolster to come in as a place where I can rest my forehead. If you're not using your blocks under your legs, another thing I like to do with the blocks is just kind of stack them here. The blocks are nice because they give you a lot of versatility with the different heights that they have. So oftentimes I'll start with my block in the highest position. But then as my tissues begin to relax and soften, I oftentimes can turn the block to a lower setting. Another symptom when energy isn't maybe moving through our heart and lung meridians as well as it could be is that we may have a hard time feeling emotions at all. So one thing that I have found really helps me to identify my emotions or maybe get more in touch with them is poetry. And I love the Book of Qualities by Ruth Gendler. So here's what she says about grief. And she, if you're not familiar with this book, she talks about emotions as a person. Before she came to this town, Grief was a woman named Aaliyah. She was a potter, and she glazed her big-bellied pots with earth colors until they shone like dull bronze. She had 4 children. The daughters live inland now in the distant foothills, and the oldest son left the family as soon as he could get away. It was the young boy with the golden curls and the laughing eyes who gave her great joy. He loved the ocean. He was barely walking when he learned to swim, and not much older when he started to sail. One day, about 2 years ago, the sailors brought his boat home empty. Never have I heard such sounds of weeping as when Grief found out her son had drowned. She screamed and howled. She stamped her feet and smashed her pots and bowls. She ate with all her fingers. She tore at her hair, and it grew wild and matted. She wandered from place to place with no sense of where she was or how she came there. One day, at the edge of the forest, Grief heard another woman crying out. She spoke with her. She listened to her story. Grief was surprised. She had never met anyone else who had suffered as she had. Together the women sat in the clearing and mourned their children. Through the long afternoon, through the twilight, through the night, they wept and wept and wept and wept. In the morning, Grief was washed clean of her tears. She came to our town and started to do her real work. next inhale, begin to come back up to a neutral position with your spine. You can take your hands and use them to gently fold your legs in, just like you're closing a book. You might then take your feet out a little bit further in front of you. You can bring your hands behind and just let your knees fall from side to side. Just rocking through your hips a little bit. And then we're going to make our way onto hands and knees. Just coming briefly into a tabletop. We'll start to open up our spine a little bit by just doing some cat-cow. So as you inhale, let your heart shine forward, bring your face forward, drop your belly down towards your mat. And as you exhale, fold inward, tuck your chin, arch your back up towards the sky like a rainbow. Inhale, lowering your belly, bringing your heart and your face forward. Exhale, tucking your chin, rounding through your back. And just do that a few more times. You can keep your hips here over your knees for this next pose. We're going to come down with our upper body towards the mat. We're going to come into what's called quarter dog pose, or you may be familiar with melting heart or puppy dog pose. This is a little bit different. We're just going to have one arm out long, so you can have your left arm stretched out long, and your right arm is going to be tucked in, so you can actually rest your forehead on the back of your right arm. And if it doesn't come there, again, feel free to bring in some props. This is another nice place for a bolster. You could bring your chest down onto the bolster, or have a block there for your head to come down onto rather than onto the back of your arm. And if you have your hips over your knees, you can really just let those muscles in your legs relax. Let the muscles through your back and your abdomen relax, just sort of hanging your spine down towards the mat. Feel the lengthening through your left arm, and the meridian line going up through your fingers, through your armpit, into your chest. Feel an opening through your chest and your heart space as it drops down toward the mat. going to press both hands into the mat. You're going to lift yourself back up, coming into that tabletop just for a little bit between sides. Maybe check in, notice how that side feels. A little more stretching through your left arm than your right. Might do a few cat-cows here. And we're going to do that on the other side. So when you're ready, lower your chest down towards the mat, bringing any props that you may like. Your left arm is going to be bent this time, so you can rest your forehead on the back of your left arm, your right arm stretching out long in front of you. Your hips over your knees. I've been forgetting to mention this because I'm practicing on carpet, but normally when I do a lot of these postures, I put a folded blanket or a folded towel under my knees. So if you're on a harder floor, I definitely recommend that. You want to find comfort wherever you can so your body can relax more easily. So along those lines, just kind of scan your body, check in. If there's anywhere that you're holding tension that you can try to relax. Make sure you're not clenching your jaw. So if you can feel that sense of your heart melting down towards the mat. Begin to press your hands into the ground, lifting your head up, your body up. You just find some nice rocks from side to side here, a little bit of free movement. So we're going to make our way onto our belly from here. Take a moment to tune in. Maybe once you get down onto your belly, I like to stack my arms one on top of the other and just rest your forehead on the back of your arms. Just take a moment to check in with your breath. Notice how your body feels. When you're ready, you can press your arms into the mat. We're going to keep our hips on the ground. Again, this is another area where if I'm on a hard ground, I oftentimes will have a folded blanket under my abdomen, so those bony parts of the hips are a little bit padded. And bring your elbows right underneath your shoulders. Your forearms are going to be out long in front of you. And your fingers, you can spread them nice and wide, and notice your fingers pressing into the mat as well as your forearms. As you inhale, lengthen through your spine. I like to imagine a string coming up through my spine, all the way up through the top of my head. And check your shoulders, make sure they're down away from your ears. Shine your heart forward here. Feel those lines of energy coming through your fingers, up through your arms, your armpits, into your chest, through your heart, your lungs, your intestines. Taking that nourishing air, sending from our lungs to our heart, so it can be circulated all through our body. Coming back to our lungs, we can exhale the CO2, inhale more oxygen. Relax your thighs here. Maybe wiggle them a little from side to side to release any tension there. Welcome to stay right here if you're feeling like you want a little bit more of a back bend today. You can begin to press your hands into the mat. Lift your elbows up off the mat. I like to send my legs a little bit wider here. You can send your hands out towards the corners of your mat. You might even walk them in a little bit more towards your body if that feels okay for your back. Shine your heart forward. I'll lower back down to the mat. And you might stack your arms one on top of the other. I like to lift my feet up towards the ceiling here and then just let my legs rock from side to side, hoping to release the tension in the low back here. And then you can let your legs fall back long. We're just going to come into a brief child's pose here. So press your hands into the mat and just send your hips back towards your heels. I do just a closed knees child's pose here. We're not going to stay too long, just sort of a brief stretch for the back before we move into our next posture. Just take a few breaths here. Walk your hands in, coming to an upright seat. You might want to sit with your legs So we can go out towards the long edge of your mat, particularly if you're on a hard floor. Oftentimes, even when I'm in a class, I'll turn sideways on my mat. We're going to come into a wide leg here, dragonfly pose, and we're going to do some lateral stretches. So sometimes we fold forward and dragonfly. Here we're going to stretch to the sides. So you might want some blocks here. I recommend some type of support for your arm, and again, the blocks are so nice because they're adjustable to the different heights depending on where your body's at today. So we'll start by stretching to the right. I'm going to mirror you, so I'm going to go to my left, but you can send your right arm down along your leg, maybe inside of your leg onto a prop like the block there, and then bring your left arm, up overhead, and then just begin to fold over, doing a nice side stretch towards your right toes. You might adjust the placement of your block. Maybe your arm finds your toes, may not, it's fine. Find somewhere where it can comfortably rest. Your head, you may be looking down towards the ground. I like to turn and look towards my open armpit. As you breathe in, just feel the breath help to lengthen and stretch through your side body. Check in and notice if there's any place you can let go of tension. Maybe soften your forehead and your eyes. Relax your jaw. Inhale back up towards center. Got to set my timer on that one, sorry. Not sure exactly how long we were there, but all right. And then we'll stretch over towards the other side. So over towards your left, you can bring your left arm down onto a support, like the block maybe, if it doesn't come all the way down to the ground. And then inhale your right arm up overhead, over your side. And a nice stretch through the right side of your body. your arms. Bring yourself back up to an upright seat. Maybe do a few shoulder rolls. We're going to make our way into one of my favorite poses. Nice little relaxation, very good grounding pose. You're going to keep your legs wide. I'm moving a little bit more forward on my mats. It's a little close to the wall there. But I'm going to keep your legs wide and then use your arms to help slowly lower yourself down onto your back. You need to readjust your hips to feel comfortable here. And then you take your arms up overhead, out wide, coming into pentacle or star pose. You can close or soften your eyes. Take a scan through your whole body. Notice all the places you're making contact with the ground. And feel that support and nourishment as you let yourself sink into the ground. Sometimes we may feel small, like curling up into a ball, hiding. I like this pose to remind myself that the earth is here to support me. And I deserve to take up all this space. You deserve to take up all this space. We all are a bright, shining star. The world needs our light. Then you can bring your knees back into center. You might give yourself a hug here. Sometimes it is nice to curl up into a little ball after all that openness. It can be hard to be so open. So give yourself a little hug. Maybe send a little note of appreciation to yourself for making time for your practice today. Little appreciation for your body and all that it's done for you, all that it does for you every day, all the fun we get to have by having this human body. And then you can bring your arms out to a T. We're going to come into a little twist here. So there's many different ways you can do your legs for twists. I'm just going to have my legs bent sort of at a right angle, my knees over my hips, and then my ankles coming out from my knees so I can kind of see the tops of my toes up over my knees. So just a simple bend in my legs. You might like your legs in a little bit more, or yeah, anyway, different ways you can do if you have a different twist that you like. As you exhale, just let your legs fall over to the right. You can turn your palms up here if you like, and then you can lift your head and look down towards your left hand. If your knees don't come all the way down to the ground, you may find it more comfortable to put a block either between your knees or underneath your knees. If your left shoulder isn't coming all the way down onto the mat, you might bring that arm in a little closer to your body. If your mind starts to wander, maybe just come back to noticing your breath. You might notice your arms and see if you can feel the sense of the energy lines coming from your fingers up through your arms into your chest, and your heart, and your lungs. If you had any supports between your knees or under your knees, you might just take that out and move it over to the other side of your mat. It can be helpful as we shift our legs to turn palms down, so you can press your arms into the mat. And then just inhale, lift your knees up back to center, and then as you exhale, just let them fall over to the left side. Bringing any supports that you might like there. You might turn your palms open to the ceiling. And if it feels all right for your neck, you could lift your head and turn and look down towards your right fingers. Practicing yoga at home is a little fun, interesting. I heard my husband laughing a moment ago, and it reminded me of one more reading I had for you today. This is again from the Book of Qualities by Ruth Gendler. Just going to turn towards the camera so my voice will project a little better. This is Joy. Joy drinks pure water. She has sat with the dying and attended many births. She denies nothing. She is in love with life, all of it, the sun and the rain and the rainbow. She rides horses at Half Moon Bay under the October moon. She climbs mountains. She sings in the hills. She jumps from the hot spring to the cold stream without hesitation. Although joy is spontaneous, she is immensely patient. She does not need to rush. She knows that there are obstacles on every path and that every moment is the perfect moment. She is not concerned with success or failure or how to make things permanent. At times, joy is elusive. She seems to disappear even as we approach her. I see her standing on a ridge covered with oak trees, and suddenly the distance between us feels enormous. I am overwhelmed and wonder if the effort to reach her is worth it. Yet she waits for us. Her desire to walk with us is as great as our longing to accompany her. So as we go through our various periods of grief, just remember joy is there. She's waiting for us. We'll come through it. Your next inhale, you can bring your knees back up towards center. Just have one final pose, which is legs up the wall. So if you do have a wall handy, you can just bring your hips next to the wall and then turn your bottom towards the wall and your legs just are supported by the wall there. So that's one option if you have a free wall nearby. The other option is, you can just be flat on your back and put your legs up towards the ceiling. I like to bring a block in under my sacrum. For me, it helps get a little bit more of a balancing point in my legs, so I don't have to really effort much to keep my legs up in the air. If you find that right balancing point, this shouldn't take too much effort. You're welcome to stay here with your legs up as long as you like. If you're ready, you can bring your feet down to the mat, press your feet in, lift up, remove the block if you had a block there. And send your legs out long. If you like, you might put a pillow or a rolled up blanket under your legs. It can feel really nice to cover up with a blanket here. Even if you're not feeling cool. A lot of times you do get cool doing a yin practice. So it's really nice to have a blanket nearby to cover up with. It also can just feel nice and comforting having that weight setting over your body. So send your legs out long. Just let your feet fall comfortably out to the sides. Your arms can rest comfortably by your side, a little bit out from your body, palms up towards the ceiling. Your head in a nice neutral position. Your forehead, your chin sort of parallel to the ceiling. Close your eyes. If you have an eye pillow, that can be really nice to put on over your eyes. We'll spend about 2 minutes here in Shavasana, but again, you're welcome to stay as long as you'd like. And if there's any other pose that you like to do that's more comfortable for you to end your practice, maybe laying on your side or on your belly, feel free to choose one of those options instead. As we prepare to reawaken our body, just take a few deeper breaths. Begin to wiggle your fingers and your toes. Maybe circling your wrists and your ankles. And you can send your right arm up overhead and then roll over onto your right side of your body. Just let your head rest on your arm for a moment. Maybe you can cradle your head in your arm. And then use your left hand pressing into the mat. Maybe your right hand joins it. Come up to a seated position. Alright, and then just come to a comfortable seat. I like to end practice by bringing arms out to side. Inhale, bringing your arms out to the sides. As you raise them up overhead, imagining that you're scooping up all the positive, loving, healing energy that you cultivated with your practice, and then bring that energy down into your heart, bowing to yourself, acknowledging that light, that love, that energy is always there for you to tap into. And then we bow to each other, acknowledging that light, that love exists in each and every one of us. Thank you so much for practicing with me. Namaste.